Hi, ¿cómo está? What's up, folks? Today we have the Battle of Fredericksburg, the American Civil War. The Battle of Fredericksburg was one of the very first urban combat, sort of like Stalingrad and WW2, street for street fighting, block for block. Every square foot was fought for. It was very. It was in the beginning of the Civil War. It was right after Robert E. Lee invaded the North and was turned back at the Battle of Antietam, which was, I would say it was a Union victory. It was a tie, the battle itself, but I would say the Union came out more victorious in Antietam because they didn't have the troops. They had more troops than the Confederates. The Confederates really couldn't lose the troops like the Union could. So after the Battle of Antietam, Lincoln wants this war over, okay? Abraham Lincoln wants this war over. So he fires General George McClellan. George McClellan, who built the Army of the Potomac and who actually ran against Lincoln in 1864 presidential election and lost. He fired McClellan, and he gave the command to George Andros Burnside, who was a guy who didn't even want the command. And when he did give it to him, it was just tragic. But they needed to stop. Lincoln had a lot of pressure from the government to end this war quickly. What's up, everybody in the chat? Yankees for life. Brian, what's up? Shaolin's finest. Johnny Russo. James. Albert, what's up, brother? Now is a good time. What's going on? I'm going to play the Battle of Fredericksburg over here. Very interesting battle in the Battle of Fredericksburg. Like I said, it's urban guerrilla warfare. Well, I wouldn't say guerrilla, but urban warfare. Totally, like I said, every house was defended because Fredericksburg was not a defended city. Lee and the Confederates did not think that an attack would come from across the Rappahannock River. Definitely not. And if what's up, Johnny? Finn Freak, what's up? And what's up, Albert? And if and if Burnsides would have crossed the river like he should have, but he waited for these pontoon boats, the pontoon boats it never came, took forever to come. But we'll watch this. People have been asking me to do some history streams, and I like doing these, and I was going to watch this anyway, so why not stream it on the second channel over here? Wednesday history class. Come on, stop buffering, you bitch. Come on, a fungal. What's up, Simpin' Ain't Easy? What's going on? I don't know why this shit's buffering. Come on, a fat angle. Every once in a while, this bullshit happens. What's up, Callie G's? Come on, man, with this buffering shit. A fat angle. Don't tell me I'm going to have to start this fucking bullshit over, man. What's up, Scott? James? Hope it's okay to have a glass of wine in class. Yes, yeah. Vino. Have some vino. Come on with this fucking thing, man. Hold on, let me stop this from sharing. Maybe it will come on. Every 4 or 5 streams, this bullshit happens, man. It's annoying. Lee Cole hung up the headset for a 4th time. Well, I don't blame Lee. He's smart. There's no point to fight and just go back and forth. How long? What are you going to keep doing? Just keep doxing people and finding people's info out? That's weird. I don't know why this thing's buffering, man. What the fuck? Come on, a fuck angle. A fungal. David, Halo? What do you mean, how? I don't play the video games. Not a good video game person. What's up, Yankees for life? What the shit? If this playback doesn't work, restart your device. What the fuck? Don't tell me I'm gonna have to redo this fucking bullshit. What's up, Richie? Feel about the Battle of Fort Wagner. Robert Gold, short for a fight. The Black Regiment proved their merit. Oh, Fort Wagner. Yes. The Battle of Fort Wagner. That was the what you call it, Massachusetts, the 54th Massachusetts. Yes, they did well in that battle at Fort Wagner, even though that they took a lot of losses, and they lost Robert Lee Shaw, their commander. Also, they lost. Come on with this thing, you fucking ghoul, you putana de sora. What the fuck? I thought it was blocked. Best wishes. No, I don't block people, man. In case you come in talking perverted stuff. Sometimes I'll block, like if I'm doing a serious stream and I got morons in there, sometimes I'll block them, but I'm going to have to shut this down and redo it. What the fuck? Let me see if this works. The stream will stay on, but I got to shut this down for a minute. All right, I'm back. Can you hear me? All right, let's try to give this I'll give this another go. Bobby, what's going on? Jimmy Rocco. Thanks for hitting the like button. Somebody sent me a clip of that guy that I had on my channel, Mob Show Report, and he was saying that he came on my channel and cleaned my clock in a debate, and I deserve to be beat up or something stupid. Like, go watch that, if you want to call it a debate. He conceded to everything I said. I don't get these people. Like, I do your Mob Show Report and like leave the drama alone. Fight with other content creators. He said he would kick my ass. So I don't fight people off YouTube. See, these people come on here and they act like they're these big brain, they're these intellectuals, and they're better than everybody else. But the guy's got to be a hypocrite because he came on my channel and conceded to everything I said and said, I guess his thing was I picked on A-Light too much. Well, it's like, well, no, I make fun of all these stool pigeons. And he's like, oh, okay, maybe I got to check your videos out. And now he's saying that. This make no, like, the dude, like, I'm not going to fight with you and give you any more subs. Like, I shouted your channel out, got you some subs. Just because I'm making fun of Jimmy the Helmet, you want to cry. And like, you people, it makes you look really bad when you're simping for these ex-mob rat associates like that. Like, just give it up, dude. Do your own thing. Stop trying to cause drama and stupid shit like that. He cleaned my clock in a debate that, like, anybody can go watch that video and you decide for yourself. What's up, Angry Sig, Teresa? What's going on? Yeah, that's ridiculous when it comes to people like that. It's like, dude, I shouted your channel. I brought you on. You conceded to everything I said. How did you clean my clock? Does this guy have a memory loss problem where people can go watch that video? He's only on there for 10 minutes, but go watch that video and you tell me if he cleaned my. I was nice to him. We were both very cordial and nice to each other. Maybe the guy's got a drinking problem and he doesn't remember and he just wants to lash out. And by you like lashing out and sticking up for these mob, like, I thought your show was about critiquing these mob channels or whatever. I don't know. He wants to beat me up, kick my like, and all I do is make fun of people. Yes, I make fun of mob rats. That's the name of my channel. Like, unbelievable. And he's like, I would never have him on my channel. I would never have you on my channel. Why would I want to go on your channel? It makes no sense. If you feel the need, come in here. I'll let you on, and I'll clean your clock in a debate and call out you for your inconsistencies. Biased man. Ridiculous, these people. Like, all they want, listen, these guys got no content, I guess, I'm guessing, because why are you making lies up saying you clean my clock? That's a lie. People can go watch that for themselves. It's really, it's funny. Yeah, Jimmy, it really makes me sad, like, unbelievable. But back to the Battle of Fredericksburg over here.
The second year of the American Civil War is drawing to a bloody close.
That was the Irish Brigade over here at Fredericksburg. There was a lot of mistakes made at Fredericksburg, especially by the Union administration, the Union generals. It took weeks for the Pontoon Bridges to get there. And Burnside said on his ass he should have fucking invaded the city and crossed the city. He didn't need the Pontoon Bridges. It's ridiculous.
And the Union Army has suffered a string of disastrous defeats.
And at this point, Lincoln wants this war over. Because remember, when the Civil War first started, both sides thought it would be over real quick.
President Abraham Lincoln is furious with his generals and pressures
thanks,
them.
Irish guy 78. Well, you're a normal person who can watch both people and not get all wrapped up in it and be a simp.
A decisive Union victory.
Well, yeah, they needed this victory because Fredericksburg was a key railway. You know what I mean? It was a key for railroads and all that stuff. So to capture it would have been very crucial for the Union.
Command of the Army of the Potomac.
What's up, Mobland?
Experienced
This can't be
General
wrong.
Ambrose Burnside.
And this is George Ambrose Burnside. If you notice, he's got sideburns, and that's where we get the term sideburns from, is George Ambrose Burnside. Just like where we get where the word hooker was made popular. Now, the term hooker was used before the Civil War, but it really started getting used because General Joseph Hooker used to always have, it was called Hooker's Brigade, and they were just a bunch of prostitutes he used to bring in to his camp. So they started getting called Hooker's girls. So the reason we refer to prostitutes as hookers is mostly because of General Joseph Hooker over here. And remember, Ambrose did not want this command, but when Lincoln told him he was going to give it to his rival, Joseph Hooker, Ambrose said, okay, I'll take it. And Lincoln's in desperate need of a fighting general. He doesn't have Grant at this time. So he's in Grant's out in the West fighting, in the Western Theater. He needs a fighting general that will fight. And Burnside's not that guy.
General Robert E. Lee knows the Union.
Yes, Brian, I love that North and South. With Patrick Swayze and all them guys, that was a real good show. You had your wrench on my other channel. I got 2 channels, remember? I got 2 channels. The first one and the second one.
Ready to attack, but he doesn't know where. The stage is now
Yeah,
set
see, Lee doesn't
for
know where they're going to attack. But once the Union Army gets to Fredericksburg and they sit on their ass, then Lee knows, and he starts moving his forces there. Because the only thing to defend Fredericksburg is its citizens.
one of the most horrific episodes in American military history.
This was bloody, this was vicious, hand-to-hand combat, street
General
fighting.
Burnside reluctantly takes his command after Lincoln fires George McClellan.
See, now McClellan, George McClellan, he built the McClellan saddle. He made that. He was a very smart guy. He built the Army of the Potomac, drilled him. They called him the Little Napoleon. He was very smart, knew a lot about war, but he was not a fighting general. You can be a very good general with tactics and all that stuff and not be a fighting general. So Lincoln and McClellan hated each other anyways. And Lincoln fired McClellan, and that's why McClellan ran against him in 1964. And if McClellan would have won, the Civil War would have been over. That's why during late 63, 64, the Confederates were not fighting the Union Army per se. They were fighting the radical Republicans of Lincoln's party. What's up, Stu Hunter, Jimmy Rocco?
Burnside is uncomfortable with the assignment.
See, he's uncomfortable.
I think Burnside just realized he didn't have the brilliance necessary to be a great commander.
He did, and he knew it.
Moderate intelligence.
And this guy's channel is called Lionheart's Film, where I got this off of. I put the link in the description. So,
only limited experience, and I think he realized that this was a huge responsibility, bigger than any military responsibility that any other American general had ever shouldered before.
Meanwhile, Confederate General Lee analyzes the impact of McClellan's dismissal and struggles to predict the Union's next move.
He knew quite well that McClellan wasn't relieved due to incompetency.
No.
He was relieved due to inactivity.
Exactly.
And he knew
inactivity, meaning he wouldn't fight.
full well that the next guy, whoever it was going to be,
was going to
get pressured by Washington to move and move now.
Yep, Lee knew that. He knew that Lincoln was going to pressure whatever general to fight. Let's end this war. And Lee knew that. General passed.
Under intense pressure from President Lincoln to act, General Burnside sets his sights on the Confederate capital at Richmond. To reach the city, he will march his army of more than 100,000 men south.
100,000 men they had. This is the Army of the Potomac. The Army of the Potomac is fucking huge. 100,000 men.
From northern Virginia. Along the route,
what's up,
he
Cuban?
must take Fredericksburg.
You have to take Fredericksburg. If you plan on taking Richmond, you got to take Fredericksburg. And here's the Appomattox River. I forget the fucking name. River right here. Ambrose is on this side. He should have crossed it. He waited for these pontoon bridges that took forever to get to him. He should have crossed the river, took Prospect Hill, had the high ground. Stupid move.
Small, unfortified
What's up,
rail
Mickey
and river
Griggs?
junction in central Virginia.
Yeah.
Fredericksburg was extremely important
Very
because
important.
it had a railroad that ran from north to south. It ran from the Potomac River all the way to Richmond. It was a surefire way that the Army could get reinforcements.
Yeah, so if the Union takes Fredericksburg, well, they got their railroad, they got the water junction, forget about it.
It could get supplies no matter what the weather was.
Thank you for being here, Mickey Griggs, and all the people hitting like and supporting the channel. James, what's up, man?
So it was a perfect
What's
way
up,
to
Scott?
keep going and driving on to Richmond.
On November 17th, Burnside's army reaches the banks of the Rappahannock River.
All right, the Rappahannock. I always fucking mispronounce the Rappahannock and the Appomattox. I always get them confused, and I've been on the Appomattox so many times, too. I don't believe I've been on the Appomattox.
400 feet across from Fredericksburg.
Can't even pronounce it.
But they have no way to get across.
They could have got across the river. They could have got many troops across this river and took this town.
Burnside is
They
irate.
just couldn't bring all of the artillery and shit like that. But his lieutenant generals beg him to do it.
A week earlier,
Little
he
Miss
had
Little Miss
ordered
came
pontoon
around.
bridges to be sent ahead for the crossing.
Pontoon bridges were a low-tech
And this is the first time in American history that a pontoon bridge was used like this and brought 100,000 men across a river too. This was a hell of an engineering feat. And when they were building these bridges, the Confederate sharpshooters were picking off Union guys, like killing us Yankees like crazy. Spin doctors,
they were
that's right.
30-foot long boats that would be anchored.
Yes, R.I.P. to all the Civil War soldiers on both sides.
In a river. And then
Angry
they would be
Sig, what's up, brother? Angel, how you doing, Angel?
lashed together, and then planks would be laid across them and lashed together, held together with basically boards and ropes.
See what this out. Look how Caesar used to do this too. Caesar did this 1,000 years before.
But
when he crossed the Rhine River in Germany.
Once built, these were amazingly sturdy devices.
Very
you could march
sturdy.
large numbers of men across them.
Cannon,
you could
horses,
bring artillery pieces across them.
forget it.
Cavalry could cross them.
And that's the pitches.
But there's been a mix-up in Washington. The pontoon bridges are still days away.
Bureaucratic bullshit.
At that point, Burnside has to make a decision. Does he take a risk and try to cross his army over the river
he should've.
without the pontoons, or should he
should've.
wait and take the safer course and wait for those pontoon bridges to reach him?
Big mistake for waiting to the pontoon bridges. I would leave a force on the side of the river waiting for the bridges, but you got 100,000 men. I would throw 40,000 men into Fredericksburg, capture the city, capture Prospect Heights, capture the high ground, so when the Confederates came to defend it, it's yours.
Fearing that his army could be cut off from supplies and heavy weapons if they
Like I was saying before, I got someone sent me a clip of that guy, Mob Show Report, saying that he came on my show and cleaned my clock. Go watch the episode with the guy. Me and him were both cordial to each other. I shared his channel and everything. I think he's trying to simp for the helmet right now and stick up for Jimmy the Helmet. It's ridiculous. Like, why does he call him the Helmet? I call him Jimmy the Helmet because the guy's stupid, okay? And like a tard, he wears a helmet. Like, come on. The guy is like, go get some content, man. You should call it just Drama Channel then. Unbiased opinion, unbiased my ass, dude. And I challenge that guy. Next time I'm live, come in and debate me. Oh, shut up.
forded the Rappahannock without bridges.
It is
Burnside-
ridiculous, Angel, and that's all it seems like a lot of these little small idiot channels got is just little drama back and forth, looking up people's families, making fun of dead people, and there's wrong shit going on both sides. Both sides should stop it. They look foolish. It just looks ridiculous, and a bunch of people just simping for this mob rat. It's just like, come on, dude.
Side decides
You're not
that
going to gain no fucking friends and no, it's just ridiculous. I want to be friends with everyone. Hug me. Hug fast. Fucking these people are so weak-minded.
he and his troops will wait.
They will wait. Big mistake. Big mistake waiting. Because here's the
On the
town of
Confederate side-
Fredericksburg. And they've got, I think they got some home guard there and a small little conjunction of soldiers.
Of the river, the city of Fredericksburg is virtually defenseless.
Defenseless. Just a small
No
group.
one anticipated an attack here, so the town hasn't been fortified.
No artillery, nothing like
Icon
that.
Direct has eyewear for
Cute
every
dog.
style
Is
this
that a
holiday
French
season.
bulldog?
You'll find festive frames sure to make you the belle of the ball. With over 3,000
That was a cute dog. Even though I'm a more big
No
dog type
artillery
of
has been
person.
positioned.
See these sharpshooters though? These Confederate sharpshooters up here like rain hell upon Burnside's engineers by building this pontoon bridge.
And only a handful of Confederate
Failed
troops are
miserably.
stationed in the city.
Ah, Bobby, what's up, Demuccio?
The rebels quickly dispatch a messenger to General Lee's headquarters 30 miles away in Orange, Virginia.
See, look, he's 30 miles away. So if fucking Burnside and them cross, take the city, and occupy the high grounds like Prospect Hill, forget about it.
Lee is shocked by the news of the appearance of the Federal Army outside the city.
Robert E. Lee was surprised when the Union Army showed up at Fredericksburg, he was completely unprepared for it. His initial impression was that once the Union Army had gotten to Fredericksburg, there was nothing he could do to stop them from crossing the river and taking the city.
What's up, Todd Father?
Caught
MJ,
out of
what's up?
position, Lee orders elements of his Confederate Army First Corps under General James Longstreet.
Longstreet was one of his best generals besides Jackson. Longstreet, if Robert E. Lee would have listened to General James Longstreet at the Battle of Gettysburg, forget about it.
To rush to Fredericksburg to intercept Burnside's
We
advancing
whooped him
army.
again, Josie. We whooped him again, Josie. I love that movie, The Outlaw Josie Wales. It comes from one of my favorite books, Gone to Texas. Great movie right there, brother.
When he arrives, Longstreet is surprised to find the Union troops haven't crossed the river.
Yes, Longstreet was loving that. He was real surprised. Why didn't they cross? Why didn't they cross?
So he digs in, fortifies the hills around Fredericksburg, and moves his troops into position.
Yep, moves in his possession. Now they fortify in the town.
Now 40,000 Confederate troops occupy a strong position in the heights.
Now look at this. These are the heights. Prospect Hill. This is the high ground. Now the Confederates have the high ground. Ridiculous. Like I said, here's Longstreet. Here's Ambrose, the Union. They could have invaded Fredericksburg, took the fucking town, then took the high ground, and they would have captured the city. But they don't do that. They didn't do that.
And a 7-mile ridgeline behind the town, while 100,000 Union troops wait for orders from General Burnside to cross the Rappahannock
100,000, the Rappahannock River. 100,000 are waiting to cross. Fredericksburg is one of my favorite battles because, like I said, it was like Stalingrad. It's urban, street to street, block to block, house to house fighting. It's insane.
General Lee quickly arrives and sets up his command tent on Telegraph Hill in heights above the town.
See, Telegraph Hill should have been occupied by the Union.
He waits
Lee was 30 miles away.
for Burnside to make the first move.
Unforgiven is a great movie, Albert. I love that movie, The Unforgiven. William Money. That was a great movie. Love it.
Lee believes the troop buildup across the Rappahannock is merely a diversion. Given his superior defensive position around the town, Lee assumes that Burnside will not strike in Fredericksburg.
He probably thinks Ambrose not going to strike Fredericksburg. He's just going to go on, but nope, that's just what he's going to do. He just made a terrible decision. My poodles are doing good. I put a picture up of my poodle. Go check my you think you're funny. Why don't you go check my friggin' my thumbnail in one of my last videos. Look how nice my poodle is.
Meanwhile, across the river, Burnside sets up his headquarters in a commandeered mansion.
Commandeered means I'm taking your home. You're going to live outside.
And waits nervously for the pontoon bridges.
Waits nervously. Like, oh my God. That's why the Union Army at this point, like the Confederates had better officers and stuff. I wouldn't say they had better soldiers all around, but the average officer was actually much more astute and better in the South. Look at the bureaucracy and the bullshit where you can't even get your pontoon bridges there.
President Lincoln rushes to Virginia to meet with Burnside. He trusts his general to devise a strategy, as long as he acts fast.
Timothy Murphy. Trace is funny.
A week later, the disassembled bridges
A
arrive.
week later.
But having
A
lost
whole week. Lee was 30 miles away, and now he's got the high ground.
the element of surprise, Burnside is paralyzed with indecision. His troops...
Yeah, I did check, I did see your clip channel over there of that guy saying he cleaned my clock in a debate. That was ridiculous. Like, one thing on YouTube is you got to realize when you make a claim like that, people can go back and watch the video. And there you know, when it comes to YouTube, People are all right. Yeah, it's a business, whatever. But you're selling yourself. You want people to watch you. That's why it's the you and YouTube, right? So when you make lies up like that and say you cleaned my clock and then say you want to beat me up, like, are you nuts, dude? This is YouTube. I don't fight with people off YouTube. That's retarded. You look stupid because people can go back and watch the video. And a few days later, the guy made a video saying, thank you, Ma Brats, for having me on. We had a great discussion. He's got a great channel. Go sub to it. See, people don't understand your credibility and things you say is everything, means everything. It just, some people are just so stupid. But they act like they're psychologists and so bright, but yet you make little childish mistakes like that. Unbelievable.
Know they've missed their opportunity.
Yeah, the Union did miss their opportunity.
If we had had the pontoons promised when we arrived here, we could have the hills on the other side.
This is the 57th New York Infantry. I have a friend's great-great-grandfather who was in the 57th New York. This is the diary of Colonel Samuel K. Zook.
The river without the cost of over 50 men.
Yeah, that we could have crossed the river. We could have crossed it without the loss of 50 men.
Now it will cost at least 10,000, if not more.
Now it will cost 10,000, if not more. Wow. Oh, the Union dropped the ball. George Andrew Burnside with those sideburns really dropped the ball. Yes, Teresa, they think they know everything. And it's like, dude, can you just like go back and watch the video?
December 9th, Ambrose Burnside calls his commanders together and outlines a risky plan.
A risky plan.
She takes a picture.
Oh, these stupid
and
commercials.
in that picture is this ET.
I gotta get ad block. What's up, Combat Medic? Well, I can't have if me and you come on here and talk about this while I'm playing it, it's gonna take 3 hours. Like I said, later on tonight is next time I stream. If you want to come on when I'm dropping the link, we can talk Civil War history. But you can't do a stream with 2 people that's never really streamed together. It will take 3 hours to get through this.
He brashly proposes crossing the river and launching a dual frontal assault into the teeth of the fortified rebel defenses.
Look at that. Look, they all got the high ground. Look, they're going to attack them all on the high ground. Amazing.
This will be the last place an attack will be expected. His officers disagree.
Yeah, the officers disagree. Yeah, Burns said, well, they won't expect us to attack the most formidable parts of the heights and the high ground over here. All of his officers were like, dude, you're sending these men to death.
Nobody in the Army liked the thought of attacking Lee's position at Fredericksburg, but Burnside proceeded with his plan, issued the orders. When he did so, many men in his army were just disgusted by the orders.
Yeah, they hated him. His guys hated him.
Burnside was so incensed by this that he proceeded to lambaste them for their lack of cooperation. He told them that he didn't want their opinions. He just wanted them to obey.
Unmoved by the protests from his officer corps, Burnside sets his plan in motion.
Here's a man, Ambrose Burnside.
Yeah, I will do a show on Hannibal versus Rome in the future, without a doubt.
Who is naturally...
Because I only do the history streams because I enjoy them. You know what I mean? I enjoy the history streams. This is like fun to me. And I go to work later. So before I went to work, I says, you know what? I want to put some the Battle of Fredericksburg. It's one of my favorite engagements in the Civil War. So
modest.
Yeah, the Punic Wars. There was 3 Punic Wars with Carthage and Rome.
Naturally timid, and I believe that he may be overcompensating for that when he assumes this.
Well, he made them as Antietam was a draw, but really it was a Union win because the Confederates couldn't afford to lose the troops that they did. 29,000 men died that day in Antietam.
Incredibly aggressive nature that overtakes him at Fredericksburg.
Yeah, Hannibal Barca was a great general, but Hannibal never. He was in Italy for 12 years. And never sacked Rome.
I expect to be sacrificed tomorrow.
Listen to this guy. He hates fucking Burnside. Samuel Zook. Watch.
Old boy. And if tomorrow night finds me dead, Remember me kindly as a soldier who meant to do his whole duty.
29,000, MJ. 29,000 souls lost their lives at Antietam. Antietam was when Robert E. Lee invaded the North. There was two big battles at Gettysburg in Pennsylvania and in Maryland and Antietam. Because Lee thought, because Maryland, you got to think, Maryland was going to join the Confederacy, but Abraham Lincoln he put martial law and he arrested all the legislators and politicians of Maryland, arrested them totally of Southern Maryland because Maryland would have joined the Confederacy. And if Maryland joins the Confederacy, Washington, D.C. is surrounded. So that's why early in 1860, he totally invaded Maryland and arrested people, martial law, the whole nine. December 11th, 1862.
Before
They're building
dawn
the
on
bridges
December 11th,
right now.
Union engineers quietly begin to assemble 6 pontoon bridges, struggling in vain to mask the sounds of their work.
Yeah, they're trying to be very quiet. They're
Within
trying to
minutes, a
muffle
messenger
everything.
arrives at General Lee's headquarters with urgent news. The Yankees are trying to cross. A double cannon shot from the Confederate
Yeah, you're right.
battery
Attacking the high ground is always a mistake.
is followed by rebel yells along the banks in Fredericksburg. Confederate riflemen take aim across the river
Now look at them
and
picking
transform
these
the
guys
Union
off.
bridge builders into sitting ducks.
Sitting ducks up
Before
there.
long,
Picture how scary that must have been for these Union engineers up there building these boats, and just your buddies are dropping all around you.
uniformed bodies float downriver.
They sound fragile, MJ, but pontoon bridges, believe it or not, they can move an army of 100,000 with artillery and cavalry.
As the surviving engineers sprint for cover, the crossing is stopped in place. Burnside takes drastic action, directing artillery batteries on Stafford Heights to begin a massive bombardment of Fredericksburg.
They shell the shit out of the city.
Union Army.
Now, he could have saved the city and had that city if he would have just crossed the fucking river and took the city before instead of waiting there like an idiot.
Over 180 pieces of artillery along Stafford
What's up,
Heights, which
Grambino?
up until our point in American history, that was the largest massing of artillery at any one certain location at any point and at any time.
The main heavy artillery piece on both sides of
Watch
the river
this.
is the 1857 model Napoleon cannon, a 1-ton smoothbore cannon that can throw a 12-pound shell more than a mile.
Look, wow, 12-pound shell, more than a mile, smashing into the city. Do you know how many people died? You're in there, you're eating your food, sleeping, all of a sudden you got cannonballs coming through your house.
Union batteries rain more than 5,000 shells onto Fredericksburg over the 10-hour barrage.
They were delayed, medic. Yes, they were delayed, but it wasn't by the weather. It was delayed by incompetence.
Is something that many of these men had never even imagined before. It was something that was immense in its fire. It was immense
Total
in its noise.
incompetence.
It was immense in its destruction.
Even though, yes, this was December, but it's not like there's snow riddled on the ground. It was just pure incompetence.
Whole blocks of the city of Fredericksburg went up in flames.
Whole blocks
soldiers
up
were
in
horrified.
flames.
The bombardment was kept up for over an hour.
Look at this, guys. I love these things right here. I watch these episodes of It's Just Nothing But Civil War guys writing home in their diaries. This is the diary of Private James M. Dinkins, 18th Mississippi, CSA.
Tongue or pen can describe the dreadful scene. Tons of iron were hurled against the place.
Wow.
It was appalling and indescribable.
Look at that.
The condition which
Look at the city of Fredericksburg. Holy shit.
paralyzed the stoutest heart.
With Fredericksburg under siege, the few remaining residents flee in horror. Seeing the crumbling town, the Union bridge builders are ordered back to work.
And now the bridge builders can build the bridges because the cannon took all the sharpshooters away. You know what I mean? The sharpshooters and people are leaving the town or getting fortified in the town, ready for urban combat.
Return to the pontoon construction.
What's up, Grant?
But hidden in the rubble, Tenacious Confederate sharpshooters have ridden out the cannon's hellfire.
Yeah, happy Veterans Day to all of the vets out there. Happy Veterans Day. Tomorrow it is, though.
Emerge to exact a lethal payback.
I might do a history stream tomorrow on Veterans Day. I don't know. It depends my work schedule. Jesus, all these commercials.
Rhode Island homeowners, if you have
Come
a power
on,
meter like
man.
this on the side of your house,
Like,
you can
come on. I hate these stupid commercials. I gotta get ad blocker. What the hell did I hit pause? Come on, what's wrong with this shit?
Movements.
All right, here we go.
Burnside's plan is to build a series of 6 pontoon bridges and march his troops across the river and seize the town.
And this was a great
The Union soldiers
engineering
waited
feat.
more than a week for the pontoon bridges to arrive. Now rebel sharpshooters are tearing apart the engineers trying to assemble the bridges.
All right, there still are sharpshooters out there.
But Burnside is determined to push his army across the Rappahannock River and into Fredericksburg, so he orders a risky assault by boat.
This was the very first riverine crossing under fire in American military history.
Yeah, this is
No
the
one had
first river crossing under heavy
ever trained
fire.
for it or prepared for it.
Under heavy fire,
Look at
2
that.
Union infantry regiments totaling nearly 2,000 men make it across the river, establish a small stronghold along the bank, and begin to push into town.
Max says thoughts on taking down what statues? What do you mean? What statues? Oh, you mean the Confederate statues? I think it's a travesty and a shame. It's American history. Leave it up. We can learn from American history. I wouldn't take anybody's statues down. They should just leave them up. What harm are they? Like even in Russia, they shouldn't even have took down the communist statues. They should have left them up so people can learn from history.
Afternoon, house-to-house fighting. The first urban combat of the Civil War is raging.
Yes,
That
the
was
sharpshooters
astonishing.
did delay the advancement.
Everyone involved.
But look at
to
this.
actually fight from house to house,
House
street
to house, street to street, just like Stalingrad, urban fucking combat.
block by block.
Look at this. Now the Confederates are pulling back because they're being overwhelmed. They don't have many people defending the town. You got an army of 100,000 crossing over here.
Neither side prepared for that type of fighting. There was no training in that sort of thing.
What's up, Mobland?
The Rebs opened on us from windows and doors and from behind the houses.
Look at that, from houses.
We had no
This is the guy. This is a lieutenant from the 20th Massachusetts.
choice, and after losing half our company, we made a rush for the houses and broke in doors.
Look at Fredericksburg.
Within
Holy
hours,
shit.
the Union engineers managed to complete the first of the pontoon bridges.
See, the first pontoon
full
bridge
division of-
is complete, and that's a hell of an engineering thing.
5,000 of Burnside's troops rapidly cross into town.
Mobland, I told you before, I have 2 channels. I wrenched you on the other channel.
The streets are flooded with bluecoats.
Flooded with blue coats. Look at this. There's the
Seeing the
Confederates.
Union onslaught, the Southerners defending the town rapidly flee.
So they end up taking the town, but even though that you take the town, the Confederate army's got the high ground all around you.
They quickly join the forces in the fortified Confederate positions, strategically located in the hills that ring the town of Fredericksburg like an amphitheater. Now the last of the pontoon bridges are swiftly completed. The path for a full Union assault has finally been blazed.
December 12th.
On the morning of December 12th, The Confederates secure their positions in the hills above Fredericksburg.
See, this is the
while two of Burnside's 3 grand divisions march across the river.
Yeah, I know, Columbus, all that stuff. They shouldn't be taking down no statues. They should just leave them up. It's American history.
Nearly 100,000 troops into the town.
100,000 troops. Jesus.
As they arrive, a mortician hands out business cards to the confident troops.
Whomsoever would say to me at the time that anything else.
This came from the Irish Brigade right here. And what's really sad about the Irish Brigade is these poor guys all got off the boat from Ireland to come to America, and immediately they were fucking thrown into war.
But certain victory
to fight their comrades at the Battle of Gettysburg, for Christ's sakes. Taking the Lord's name in vain over here, but I got my rosaries right over here. But I got my rosary beads here. All right, but basically, the Irish Brigade at Gettysburg, there was the Irish were on both sides killing each other. Like all these guys who fought with each other in Ireland are now killing each other. Sad. Welcome to America, Gambino.
I would have looked upon him with scorn and contempt. I was not aware that hell personified was so close at hand.
From his headquarters on top of Telegraph Hill, Confederate General Robert E. Lee observes the size of the crossing and realizes that these troops represent the main force of Burnside's army. This is no diversion.
Nope, it's not a diversion.
I think Robert E. Lee was probably relieved because now he knew what was coming.
Yeah, now he knew what's coming at him. Before, he didn't know. Is this a diversion? Are they going somewhere else? But at least now he knows. And knowing is half the battle.
Was coming. And he was able to consolidate his forces. And
make sure you hit that like button, people.
I think he knew at that time that what was at hand was going to be a slaughter.
Within Fredericksburg, Union troops have other priorities than
that. Look at these fucking guys. They're just fucking drinking, stealing shit, looting. Burnside or none of his guys could control this shit.
Small-time pilfering for food and tobacco escalates
Yep, the
quickly
Georgia Brigade, Dell, you're right. They were Celts. Yep, you're right.
Into full-scale pillaging. Art, books, and furniture are smashed,
what a shame,
tossed into the streets, and burned.
What a shame.
The Union soldiers took out their anger and their fear and their frustration on the city of Fredericksburg. They looted.
It's a great song, Dell. Oh, really, Lou? This is one of your favorite subjects of Civil War? I would say mine would have to be like Roman stuff, but Civil War is one of my seconds. Or maybe thirds. I'm not sure.
Reign supreme. Men who at home were modest and unassuming now seem to be possessed.
That's right, Boston Red. That's right. It's not going to stop. If people thought that was going to stop at the Confederate statues of Columbus, they're going for Washington and Jefferson and all of them next.
Everything inside.
Which is disgusting.
So it was a very bizarre and very just shameful scene on the part of the Army of the Potomac.
The conduct of our men and officers is atrocious. Their object seems to be to destroy what they can't steal, and to steal all they can.
Fucking gluttons.
As Fredericksburg becomes a spoil of war, back across the river.
Yeah, Mosby, John Mosby, Dell Mosby was one of my favorites, the Gray Ghost.
Union commanders is held at Burnside's headquarters to firm up the attack plan.
Yeah, already going after Jefferson.
Debate, a final strategy is set in motion.
And for going after Lincoln, what does that tell you?
Essentially was a two-pronged frontal assault, which Burnside hoped just by sheer force of numbers would force the Confederates off that ridge.
The first prong of the assault will be an attack on Prospect Hill, the far left of the Union lines. It is seen as an area where the Confederate Army is more vulnerable because the ridges are lower and accessible.
Yeah,
William Franklin.
Wait till Thomas Stonewall Jackson gets there.
Is told that his 65,000 men must break through at Prospect Hill against General Stonewall Jackson.
Yeah, Medic, you're right. The Union Army had plenty. The Army of the Northern Virginia was limited, exactly. And that's what they were called back then, the Army of Northern Virginia.
49,000 troops. The attack is only hours away.
Burnside, what an idiot.
I discovered the 8 immortal kings of South America.
How many commercials? See, one thing I don't like about certain YouTube channels is they got 4 to 5 commercials. Like, I monetize my channels, and I only put 1 commercial. I don't like all them commercials. I think it's greedy and stupid. But that's just my opinion.
The next morning, Stonewall Jackson's Second Corps braces for a massive
Here
Union
comes
assault.
Jackson.
But General Franklin receives a vague written order from Burnside.
Yeah, Franklin. Now watch this vague order right here.
Inside that seems to reverse the order.
Oh, Dell, you're a fan of Bloody Bill Anderson. You had family in the 14th Virginia Cavalry, Rockbridge Dragoons, and hung with. Oh, wow, that's pretty interesting. One day you're going to come on and talk about that. One day I'll hold a stream, and anybody who's got some like war family members or something, you can come on and bullshit with me and the medic.
For a large-scale attack on Prospect Hill. It commands him to take 1 division at least to assault Prospect Hill near Hamilton's Crossing. One division means attacking with just 4,000 men.
Wow.
Less than 10% of the troops Franklin has ready to fight.
It's like, why wouldn't you let him take all his troops? Oh, my God.
When General Franklin received the order at 7:30, what he read thoroughly perplexed him. It wasn't what he expected. He thought he was going to be the main attack, and he had 65,000 men ready to use. But the order he received told him to use just a division.
Just one
Franklin
division.
has time to send a rider to Burnside for clarification, but decides not to.
Wow. He should have went there and told Burnside, let me take more. If Burnside might have said no, I would have still done it. I would have went against his orders.
I think by the morning of December 13th, General Franklin was getting a little bit disgusted with General Burnside.
What neither Franklin nor Burnside can know is that at that moment, in the Confederate commander's tent, a debate is raging which may change everything.
There was a meeting of the High Committee.
Vietnam for you. Were you in Vietnam, or that's your favorite topic? Your favorite historical thing?
And of the Confederate armies, Robert E. Lee, James Longstreet, and Stonewall Jackson. And Stonewall Jackson rode up, that morning and basically said, when do we attack?
Yep. Jackson was a religious fanatic. Remember that about Stonewall Jackson. Thomas Stonewall Jackson was a teacher at VMI, Mexican war vet. This guy was a religious fanatic. He did not fear nothing. Everything's in God's hands. He was. That's why when he died after Chancellorsville, and his own men shot him on accident, friendly fire. Before he died, he lost his left arm, and Robert E. Lee said, Jackson lost his left arm, and I lost my right arm.
Stonewall Jackson was like a pit bull on a chain. This is a man who didn't understand defense. He didn't want to fight a defensive battle.
That wanted to attack.
Was the honor in fighting a defensive battle.
Just like Manassas, he told them to use the bayonet.
Mantra was attack, attack, attack.
But Lee is able to quiet his fiery corps commander's aggression and convinces him to...
Bobby, my father was in Vietnam, 65 to 68, first century, 13 confirmed kills. But God bless your father. God bless that man.
Await the Yankees' first move.
Much respect.
Jackson's wait will not be a long one. Just after 10 a.m., Franklin orders General George Meade to lead his division of 3,800...
Now, George Meade, they called the Turtle. Now, Meade gets command of the army eventually also.
Infantry into the field.
I believe Meade is... I think Hooker gets control of the army after Burnside, then Meade does. Because Lincoln goes to, 12 generals before he finds Grant?
Prospect Hill. For most Union troops, the fight is waged only with a single-shot rifle. But guns like the Springfield Model 1842 rifled musket represent a big advance over weapons of the late 18th and early 19th century. Its rifled barrel spins the projectiles on their way out, adding range, accuracy.
See, when you have the other muskets, the Enfield and stuff, they're not rifles. But once you put these grooves in, now your mini ball travels much farther and much more accurate.
Killing power. When Meade's troops near Confederate lines, they're taken by surprise. There seems to be a hidden Confederate artillery battery.
Yep,
Men and horses fall to the hidden guns, and the advance halts.
This one artillery guy, watch this guy. This guy was a fucking, oh man, this guy was a badass.
500 yards away,
listen.
24-year-old Confederate Major John Pelham directs just a single
Now,
cannon.
John Pelham, his father was, I believe, a lieutenant general. But watch what one cannon, Pelham's cannon, right? You got a bunch of cannons firing at this one cannon, and he just keeps moving his cannon around and firing, moving his cannon around and firing. This guy was fucking brave, man.
Cannon.
Watch what he
Pelham
does.
was at a great risk, operating very far in front of his lines.
No fear whatsoever. It's amazing how he lived.
He handled it brilliantly.
Yeah, this one cannon medic held up the entire advance.
The unexpected presence of our guns so close to them seemed to paralyze them and throw them into disorder.
One gun.
Instead of rushing for us...
See the bravery? Because he was so brave and he didn't pull back. This one gun did this damage.
Whelming us with their numbers. They were evidently afraid of us, judging no doubt that we had a strong force concealed.
For nearly an hour, Meade's men return fire and call for Union artillery to knock out what they
What's his name? John Pelham.
Believe to be 4 to 8 guns firing on them.
So you had 4 to 8 guns trying to hit Pelham, right? Pelham just keeps moving his cannon around and firing back and holds the advance of the whole fucking army.
Finally, Pelham runs out of ammunition and is forced to retreat. No longer in Pelham's sights, Meade's men reorganize and prepare to assault Prospect Hill. Completely unaware.
Yeah, Porter Alexander and him were the best in West Point. Yeah, most of these guys were all West Point buddies, and they all were at West Point together.
That they are outnumbered 10 to 1.
Outnumbered 10 to 1. Wow, another commercial. Oh my God. Like, this is a good channel and all, but I already went through 4 commercials, man. Jesus. Yeah, they thought there was more than one cannon. Come on. December 13th, 1862.
In the opening moments of the Battle of Fredericksburg, the first of the Union's dual assaults meets with stiff resistance. A single hidden Confederate cannon stops the...
Yeah, he's simping ain't easy. Yeah, he's probably making money on these, but you could make money on them with just 2 or 1 ads. But, you know, hey, each his own.
Division sent to probe Prospect Hill. At that moment, 5 miles to the north, Burnside's second prong, under the command of General Edwin Sumner, is preparing for the attack on Marie's Heights. The approach to the Confederate position offers little cover for the Union troops.
No cover at all. Watch
outside
this.
of the town of Fredericksburg, going up to Marie's Heights, is roughly about a half a mile. So as soon as they passed out of the protection of the houses and the buildings of the town of Fredericksburg and entered into that open plain, they're going to be under the fire of the guns.
Midway across the field, a small canal must be crossed. Then a slight ridge offers the last protective cover before a low stone wall. And finally, a short march to the base of the heights.
Oof. Kill zone.
At 11 a.m., the Gibraltar Brigade, made up of troops led by Brigadier General Nathan Kimball, approaches the lower end of the canal. The attack is launched in wide Napoleonic columns, the standard tactic of the era. Troops march in...
Yeah, they did promote the cannon guy, John Pelham.
2 lines, sometimes over 100 men across.
See, now this is Napoleonic warfare. During the end, this is the beginning of the Civil War, but during the end of the Civil War, they weren't lining up in Napoleonic warfare no more. It became more like World War I trench warfare.
Just 1 foot behind the other.
Look at this.
The Confederate soldiers dug into the
What's
heights,
up, Viking?
wait for the impressive lines of Union troops to march into.
Yeah, John. This is from the YouTube channel. I put the link of this guy's channel in the description down at the bottom. It's called Lion Filmworks channel. It's right in the description. Oh, thanks for the $1 Cash App. Thank you.
Federal troops expect most of the rebel cannon fire to be lobbed from behind the Confederate lines. Instead, Artillery Chief Porter Alexander has devised an innovative new way to position his guns.
He brought them over the hill and put them on the downside and arranged them to repel any potential infantry assault up that hill. General Lee didn't like this. And finally, Porter Alexander says, General Lee, a chicken won't be able to live on that field when we open up.
A chicken won't be able to live on that field.
Alexander was right. Confederate gun crews shred the Union troops, firing solid shot and explosive shells directly into the advancing waves.
Hold on. Why would I yell at somebody for donating to my channel, Jimmy? That makes no sense. Oh, you said joke. Oh, okay. No, if someone, no, I wouldn't yell at them. I say thank you.
Once within a few hundred yards, an even more lethal munition awaits.
Watch this.
Canister.
Canister shot. No.
Canister is basically a thin tin can, kind of like a coffee
With all
can.
little
and
bullets
inside the
in
coffee
it. Look at
can,
that.
you're going to put 27
Look
inch and a
at
half
that.
golf ball size.
It's like buckshot. It's like buckshot because they would fire a mini ball that was real big or a canister, and the canister is just is shredding our infantry
balls. And you'll put
Great
that
shot,
inside your
yes.
cannon. You're basically turning your cannon into a giant shotgun.
Yep.
5 miles to the south at Prospect Hill, the
This is
second
where
prong of
Jackson
Bluecoats
is.
is also approaching enemy lines.
Where Stonewall is.
Having survived Pelham's cannon, George Meade's division is again on the move, advancing across the field toward rebel lines. Like at
That's
Marie's
right,
Heights,
medic.
Confederate artillery crews are dug in and ready. To calculate a deadly kill zone, a lone tree 800 yards out has been measured for the cannons to set their range.
A raise of the hand as the fatal tree is reached, and the 14 guns let loose at the same instant. From then on, it's load and fire, load and fire,
load and fire,
load and fire, as fast as Sponge and Rammer and Lanyard can do their work.
The brutal rain of shot and shells stalls Meade's advance. Back at Marie's Heights, the Gibraltar Brigade has lost nearly 1/3 of their men before the final crest in the field.
1/3.
But the troops stay in rank and continue forward. As they clear the final rise
Take care,
and
John.
approach the stone wall, one more surprise awaits.
Have a good day. Thanks for watching.
Behind the wall, hundreds of Confederate shooters under General Thomas Cobb load their rifles.
They could see the Confederate artillery on top of Marie's Heights.
But they couldn't
thought that
see
was their target.
They couldn't
But as
see
they
these
closed to
guys.
within about
Watch
100
this.
yards of the base of that hill, they were stunned to see an
Look at
entire
this.
line of Confederate infantry
Oof.
stand up from a sunken road
This must have
and fire
scared
into their face.
them to
It
death.
never dawned on them that there was an entire infantry brigade standing right in front of them.
Cobb's
The
boy.
sheet of
Dell
flame
knows his history.
emanating from that stone wall stopped the Federals dead in their tracks. Against these thousands of rifles, all neatly protected by the stone wall, there almost was no defense. The Federals had no cover.
The destruction of the Gibraltar Brigade is complete.
Wow, another
From the
ad. Oh my
Direct has
god.
eyewear for every style.
Another ad. Was this the 6th ad? Oh my god. The 6th ad. How many can they put?
From the edge of town, the renowned
Wow.
Irish Brigade witnessed the slaughter under the heights. On command, they fix bayonets and march forward to reinforce the embattled divisions.
There's the
already in
Irish
the field.
Brigade. Yeah,
Their
me too,
fortitude is
Dell.
matched by that of the small division back at Prospect Hill, who at the same moment are attempting yet another assault.
At this point of the Battle of Prospect Hill, it's just chaos. All three of George Meade's commanders are out of action. One of them's dead, one of them's wounded, and the other one's pinned under a horse and can't get up. And so the men are basically leading themselves.
As Meade's outnumbered troops close on Confederate lines, some of his men cross through an undefended area thought by rebels to be an impassable marsh.
When men are desperate for cover, they go into the woods and they begin to filter up. And much to the surprise of the Confederates, it was not impassable at all.
No, they got through it.
When the Union Army hit the swamp and were able to penetrate into the gap of Stonewall Jackson's line, they were pointed straight at Maxcy Gregg.
Confederate Brigadier General Maxcy Gregg's South Carolina Brigade is charged with holding 600 yards of ground behind the swamp. Unaware of Meade's attack, his men sit eating lunch.
When Gregg saw troops coming up the hill, he assumed that they were going to be Confederates, when in reality they were Federals.
Shots crack through the trees. The men run to their guns and fire at the figures spotted in the distance through the woods. Gregg is certain that the men are firing at their own Confederate skirmishers and rides along his lines urgently yelling to cease fire.
Yeah, that's why they put the ads.
By the time he discovered his mistake, it was too late.
A Union round catches Maxcy Gregg in the spine. His misjudgment has cost him his life and leaves his troops without a leader. Meade's men rout the Confederate defenders and breach Stonewall Jackson's lines.
Now watch what happens
with
here.
The battlefield in chaos, with nothing being planned. You don't want to use the word miracle, but I can't think of another one.
With just 4,000 men, George Meade has penetrated a wall of more than 40,000 Confederate defenders at Prospect Hill. Remarkably, one phase of Burnside's brazen plan has broken through.
Yeah, only Meade succeeded right there, and that's why maybe he got the command of the army. Why does it go dark like this?
On their second attempt of the day, Union General George Meade's troops are able to pierce the formidable defenses.
George Gordon Meade led probably the smallest division in the entire Union Army in that attack against Stonewall Jackson. His success was something that must have startled everyone, not only in the Confederate lines, but also in the Union lines. And his success was a 1 in a million chance.
But outnumbered 10-1, Meade cannot hold out for long on his own.
No, he can't.
Now, at this point, with Stonewall Jackson's front line on the verge of crumbling, Meade knows that he can take this line. He needs help.
He asked an aide to go find the closest troops available and bring them up.
His plea reaches General David Birney. Shockingly, Birney refuses to send in more troops.
What an idiot. What an
And
idiot.
instead, what he got was a great big dose of "Who made you the boss of me?" This is a guy who said, I don't work for you. You're a division commander. I'm a division commander. We're in two different corps. I take my orders from somebody else.
Now, George Meade was a man with one of the most ferocious tempers in either army. At this point, he went back to find Birney himself. He proceeded to yell and scream at Birney, chewing him up and down to the point where...
Which he had every right to. Meade was right. Meade is the only general who accomplished his mission in this, and he needs more troops, and they won't give it to him because of a little bitch stuff.
Witness said to listen to Meade was enough to make the stones underfoot almost creep, trying to get away.
I'm surprised George Gordon Meade didn't pull out a pistol and shoot the guy.
As Meade rages, he may be the only Federal commander who realizes what history will soon confirm.
Yeah.
In one moment of fateful hesitance, all chance at a Union victory has vanished.
Gone.
On top of Prospect Hill, Stonewall Jackson directs 2 divisions to spearhead the Confederate counterattack and close the fractured
Yeah, me too,
defensive line.
Vikings. I like this era in history.
Soon it's every man for himself. Outgunned and drastically outnumbered, Meade's troops sprint back toward the main Union lines, pursued by thousands of Confederate soldiers. In no time, Meade's men surrender every inch they've gained.
What a shame.
Leaving hundreds of their dead and wounded
What
in
a
the woods
shame.
behind.
All for nothing. I'm surprised. Yeah, that guy's right. I'm surprised Mead didn't shoot the guy in the fucking head.
Dramatic breakthrough yields little except for
Wyatt Earp, Doc Holliday. I like Wild West history also. Me also.
Questions
Take
about
care,
what
Brian.
could have been achieved.
God bless, brother.
Now, once Meade broke through, and if Franklin had shown any great initiative and moved up with reinforcements immediately, the Federals would have been able to consolidate everything that Meade had captured. Had they stayed on the Confederate right flank, there's a good chance they could have made the entire line untenable for Robert E. Lee. There was a real chance at Union victory.
But up the lines at Marie's Heights, there's no time for analysis. The battle still rages.
Jesus, another? Look how many fucking... This is like the 7th.
Rock, 6 miles in diameter.
The
There's
Irish,
the Irish
Brigade, made up of mostly Irish immigrants from New York, Massachusetts, and Pennsylvania, is the 5th Brigade sent against the Heights. One of their number, William McCarter from the 116th Pennsylvania Volunteers, describes their advance.
Well, Del, that's why at Gettysburg, Longstreet's asked General Lee, let's do a tactical retreat and get on Baltimore Pike and march to Washington, D.C., but Lee made a huge mistake not listening to Longstreet's at Gettysburg.
As it reaches the small ridge in the center of the field.
Take care, BS.
Every third man had fallen, and along some parts of the line, every second soldier had been killed or wounded. To make matters still worse, we had lost nearly all our officers.
They took instant and overwhelming losses across the board. The bloodbath was terrible.
Gettysburg was an accidental battle, yes. You had Robert E. Lee's cavalry was the cavalry of the eyes and ears of the army. Jeb Stuart, I don't know what the fuck he was doing, out foraging for shit, whatever. So Lee ended up, the front of the Confederate army ended up smashing into the back of the Union army. It was an accidental battle, wasn't supposed to take place.
And it was showing that the old form of fighting was quickly becoming a thing of the past.
You see individuals, commanders, as well as common soldiers saying, this does not make sense.
No, it doesn't make sense.
Lines,
These long lines, just everybody getting cut down. Like, what are we doing?
Marching up to one another and duking it out.
The Irish Brigade battles to within 50 yards of the sunken road before it is destroyed completely.
What a shame. These poor guys came off the boat from another country, thrown into battle to kill their own brothers.
Run for a shallow ravine that is already...
And remember, everybody who dies in these battles are Americans. These are Americans killing Americans. The most bloodiest war in America's history is right here because everybody who died was an American.
With hundreds of Union wounded. 545
Yeah, you're right, Del. Jeb was told to forage wagons. Showed up, but Lee had 4 of the cavalry regiments. Stewart, he missed the cavalry wagons. Yeah, it was, I blame General Lee for that, though.
The brigade are lost, joining the thousands of dead and wounded that have already fallen. Those fortunate enough to be carried off the battlefield soon find themselves at one of the dozens of makeshift Union field hospitals.
Wow, these hospitals
Fredericksburg was
must have been
transformed into
brutal.
one vast hospital.
Arms cut
Just about
off,
every residence,
legs.
church, civic building that was still standing was converted into a hospital.
Yeah, no ambulances. Their ambulance is what? Literally a stretcher, bringing them to these Union hospitals, little hospitals right here, where you have legs and arms piled up like crazy.
Ghastly.
And there wasn't much laudanum. What did they use? Opium or laudanum, I believe. And there wasn't much of that to go around. So most of these guys had their arms chopped off and legs chopped off with just a piece of wood in their mouth and men holding them down.
Bloody wounds met the eye in every direction. Some had their eyes shot out.
Oh, really? Dirty? See, this is what's very interesting where I like pulling his stuff up right here. 30 seconds to 90 seconds per amputation. Wow. Just Wow. Wow, man. You know what, Medic? Why don't you make your own history? You should do your own history channel. Why don't you start going live, talking about history, and maybe use StreamYards and let people come on and talk about history? I'll come on there and talk about history with you. You should make a YouTube channel about maybe your historical army stuff and other things like this that you know a lot about.
Were swollen out of their mouths. Some had their bodies shot through. Others were torn and mangled by shell.
You don't know how to do it? Well, there are tutorials. You can look up things on YouTube. You can type in, how do I start a YouTube channel? How do I go live? Then there's other things on YouTube, videos that how do I use StreamYards? You should do that. A lot of historical lovers would come watch it. I know I would.
And all were crowded wherever
Look
there
at that.
was
Oh
any
my
space.
God. Look at him chopping his sawing his arm off. Look at that. Oof. That's
Atop
gotta
Telegraph Hill, Robert E. Lee grows worried that Burnside's masses of human wave attacks may ultimately break through Longstreet's formidable
Yes, you are correct. I want to pull up what he's saying right here. Lincoln asked Lee to command his army, but he said he could fight against home state Virginia. Yes, you are correct. Well, the first commander of the Union Army was Winfield Scott, but he was a very old man. They couldn't even prop him up on a horse no more. So they did ask General Lee to take command of the Union Army. And remember, Virginia was one of the last Confederate states to join the Confederacy. It was the last state to join. So, like, a lot of the Virginians did love the Union, but once the Confederates, these states started leaving the Union, and, you know, they identified as Southerners, so they joined the Confederacy.
defensive positions.
Because remember, Washington was from Virginia. Most of the founding fathers, well, not all, but a lot of them were from the South. So these people had a lot of like pride in the South, and they were not going to fight their Southern neighbors and all that kind of crap.
But Longstreet's confidence in his men is unshakable.
General, if you put every man now on the other side of the Potomac in that field to approach me over the same line and give me plenty of ammunition, I will kill them all before they reach my line.
But as the attacks...
Hold on a minute. Wow, how many commercials have we seen in this one video? Oh my God. They're so loud, I have to mute them because they're so loud in my ear.
As the attacks continued to roll forward, one after another, Robert E. Lee started seeing a different aspect of the battlefield that he hadn't encountered before. And that was the destructive power of his own men. To look at the pristine Union legions of the morning come back tattered and ruined and broken.
Yeah, broken. No, you're correct, Al. While Yankees invaded Kentucky and Maryland, as scared they would be. Yes, exactly. They thought that they were going to join the Confederacy. Kentucky, I don't know if Kentucky would have. Maybe Kentucky might have split in two, because half of Kentucky was pro-slavery and some were against slavery. So you had factions. You had a war before the Civil War. There was a civil war over slavery in Kentucky itself. So yes, in Maryland, 100% would have joined the Confederacy. 100%. That's why Lincoln sent martial law and soldiers to occupy Baltimore and to occupy Maryland. Of course, they would have joined it. And if Maryland's joined in the Confederacy, Washington is literally surrounded.
That truly affected him, and probably affected him for the rest of his life.
Yeah,
In
Kentucky was
response to
50-50, yes.
Longstreet's morbid boasts, Lee said,
"Yes, MJ.
It is well
Very
that war
tragic.
is so terrible.
Very.
Or we should grow too fond of it." Across the Rappahannock, at Burnside's headquarters, Generals Edwin Sumner and Joseph Hooker pressed the Union commander to end the slaughter.
The conversation between Hooker and Burnside was not at all pleasant. Hooker was a very outspoken man.
Hooker and Burnside hated each
didn't
other.
like him.
They had more than didn't like it. They hated each other. Why do you think General Burnside accepted the command? He told Lincoln, "I don't want the command of the Army of the Potomac." Right? So Lincoln, very politically astute, and he knew how to play people. He knew people, so he knew these guys hated each other. So what did he say to Burnside? Well, if you don't take the command, I'm going to give it to Joseph Hooker. And these guys were rivals. They fucking hated each other. Forget about it. Pure hatred.
And General Hooker made it very clear that Burnside should
What's
not
up,
make
Smoking
these assaults.
Tommy?
Burnside was a somewhat inflexible man, a somewhat stubborn man, and as the going got tough, Burnside simply decided to up the ante.
Generations of historians have spent their lives trying to figure out what in the world was Ambrose Burnside thinking.
What was he
question
thinking?
to answer. The man is sleep deprived, for one thing.
Well, he didn't even want the army. Lincoln made a bad decision right there. If a man is telling you he doesn't want to be a commander, I think it's a very stupid move to manipulate him into being a commander, because the guy's not sure of himself. You want your fucking general to be confident, strong, not second guessing himself. So I think it was a terrible move by Lincoln right there, though. Bad move.
Probably a little bit delusional.
Why do you think Lincoln went through 12 generals, for Christ's sakes? Literally like 12 guys. That might be off a number or two, but he couldn't get along with McClellan. Him and McClellan hated each other. And that's why McClellan ran against him in the 64 election.
Attacks on Marie's Heights would continue.
Look at that, just
One of
fallen.
Sumner's
All these men on this field were brave men. Any man who's going to stand up for their beliefs and walk across a field and take muskets to the fucking head, cannonballs, losing legs, losing your Peugeot, your face, your life, that's bravery. God bless them all, and God rest their souls.
General Darius Couch witnesses the result from an observation post in the courthouse tower.
The whole plain was covered with men, prostrate and dropping.
Wow.
Alive men running here and there.
Imagine
in front,
witnessing
closing
that.
upon each other, and the wounded coming back. The command seemed to be mixed up. I had never before seen fighting like that. Nothing approaching it in terrible uproar and destruction.
Yeah, Dell, you're 100% correct.
In all, 15 brigades are sent to their
Imagine
destruction.
watching that from that tower with binoculars, watching all this chaos. Don't get me wrong, it would be an awesome sight to behold as a historian and loving history, but I don't know, that would be pretty tragic to watch all these men die like that. That'd be very sad to watch all these young men, old men just kill each other.
Before sun sets on the killing.
Sad. All
Not
these
a
men,
single Yankee
same men, all
reaches
European men.
the sunken road.
Men of men, exactly. I don't know why their screen goes black for a few minutes. I don't like that. I'm going to fast forward it because I think it's a commercial. This must come
lay
from
across the battlefield.
a
For the
TV
Confederate
show.
troops watching and listening.
Because I don't want this going too long. It's already 68 minutes, but it's over.
If you were a
shortly.
Confederate soldier looking out across that field as the fighting sputtered to an end on December 13th, it would have been a terribly gruesome sight.
Oh, yeah.
You would
Picture
have had
looking at
hundreds
this.
of Union soldiers lying in all
The smell.
attitudes of pain on the ground. Some with
Agony.
heads blown off, others with wounds.
Just picture the people screaming, like he said, with wounds and agony, praying to their gods, calling out their mothers.
Nearly 1,500 dead soldiers lay in an area of 2 acres. in front of our lines.
1,500. Oh,
3 or 4 times as many wounded howled in the darkness, a dismal concert for assistance which could not be rendered. Or they perished in the cold from neglect.
well, that's another thing. Being cold and sick.
Shots and
Can't even-
artillery
oh,
are
man.
exchanged wildly in the dark.
Look at that. Using
The
your
wounded
using your friends' bodies as cover. Look at that. Using your comrades' bodies for cover.
Off the field.
Your fellow soldier.
A half.
Bobby Lee. The White Fox, the old fox. Wow, this is like the 8th, 9th commercial of Fatengo. What the fuck?
His headquarters on Telegraph Hill. Robert E. Lee assesses the
What's up,
situation.
Carlos?
Some of his commanders press for a counterattack to finish off the Army of the Potomac. But in spite of having crushed every Union unit sent against him, the Confederate leader is not convinced that the Union Army has abandoned their offensive.
Both Union and Confederate soldiers were under the impression that what had ended on December 13th would almost certainly begin again on December 14th.
Yep.
Nobody
I can't
was
give
under
you
the
a
impression
link.
that
I'm
this
doing a
battle was
video.
over, least of all General Burnside and Robert E. Lee.
Lee's instincts are correct. Across the river, Burnside is laying out his plan to seize victory from ghastly defeat with a final all-out
Hold
assault.
on, yeah. You know what? It's almost
This attack is
over,
going to be a little
so-
bit different. This time, Burnside planned to attack with his own old Ninth Corps, which he's going to mass them into a very compact formation.
Look at that.
Burnside's intention is to create a colossal block of infantry hundreds of men wide and 36 lines deep.
Oh,
It is
the
an idea
carnage.
that is both daring and desperate. In the hope of getting a few hundred men past the stone wall, Burnside is willing to sacrifice thousands more. One man, almost certain to fall, will be the officer leading the charge, Burnside himself.
Yeah, but he doesn't.
I think Burnside was so distraught by what he had seen on December 13th and felt so guilty about it that this was Burnside's way of trying to end his own life.
Burnside's men are finally able to reason with their commander, and they talk him out of his reckless final maneuver.
Thank God.
Thousands are saved from
If
needless
this would have
slaughter.
ever happened, if that would have ever went
Dawn
on,
on December 14th brings skirmishes and artillery,
forget about
but
it.
no further.
All right, you know what? I'll bring you on, combat medic, but don't. When you come in, just go with the flow. Don't ask me how I'm doing, or even say hi, and nothing like that. Just go with just listen to it, and if you want me to stop it, just say stop it. If you want to talk about something, but we can't go too long. I'm already at an hour and 26 minutes, so. But if you want to join, join, but we just can't talk too long. Hold on, I'll put the thing back on so I see you.
Their attack. For the wounded abandoned in front of the stone
It's almost
wall,
over, Alfred. It's
also
over when you want to come on and make
another
a
day of
bullshit.
These men had bled, they were thirsty, they were crying out
Look
for
at
water. And yet nobody could go to help them because to step out on that no man's ground
You get
was
shot.
essentially to commit suicide. Finally, one soldier couldn't take it any longer.
Richard Kirkland,
Wow, look at
a
this guy.
19-year-old Confederate sergeant manning the sunken road, cannot stand the anguish he
Humanity
sees among
right
the
here.
Union wounded stretched out in front of him.
He asked for
What a
permission
good
to
man.
take water out into no man's land and give it to the Union soldiers.
See, these people
His
didn't
commanders thought
hate
that
each
would be a
other.
suicidal mission, but he undertook it anyway.
At the risk of his own life, he leaped over the wall,
He probably
dodged some
couldn't
bullets
deal
until
with
he
it
reached
no
the very
more.
first soldier.
Dealing with their pains and these guys screaming.
Water out of one of the canteens he was carrying.
The firing halts quickly as exhausted soldiers on both sides watch in awe the bold
Wow.
display of compassion.
Yeah, this is something
amid the
right
slaughter.
here. Nobody's shooting at
A
him,
day
just like
later.
the Christmas truce. If you know what the Christmas truce
Under
is.
cover of a blinding rain and sleet, the Union Army completes a miraculous silent retreat across the river. They escape undetected, saving the remainder of the Union Army of the Potomac. In Fredericksburg and in the
You're in,
hospitals and fields
Mark.
outside the town, more than 13,000 Union casualties lie wounded or dead.
Wow. What's going on, Mark? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, you're
just-
in here.
Just to bring some light onto some of the medical issues. When we say
Yep.
ambulances, we're talking about wagons that went over rocks, over hills. They're banging around inside, and you got wounds that are open. The mine ball, they traveled much slower. The musket mine ball, they were
Yep.
softer. They were softer lead, and what happened was when they travel slower, they take pieces of the cloth of your uniform and they drag
sepsis.
they drag it into your body, which causes the massive infections that all these soldiers was getting. Amputations
That's
took
amazing.
between 30 seconds and 90 seconds. They were tossing arms out the window, and they would have a pile as high as the windowsill. man, to talk about really about how infections started, how a doctor saw that doctors once believed in the Civil War that pus was actually good for a wound. When they saw the white pus, they said, "Oh, it's healing."
Wow.
And about a year or two later, during the Civil War, one surgeon noticed that some water was dripping from a tent onto a soldier's wound, and it was actually hitting the pussy area, and the wound actually healed somewhat from the water, and a surgeon started figuring out that pus is not actually good for a wound. So that's how they got it a little more under control. Unbelievable facts.
That's interesting.
Right. Laying on the battlefield, you're going to lay there. You're not being picked up like in Nam or in all these other battles where transportation was a radio call away. You were laying on the field and you were bleeding to death. If the battle had stopped, then you would be carried off to one of these local makeshift hospitals. But it was brutal, man. It was brutal that the injuries and the suffering that these soldiers had to bear. I mean, I could go on, but
It's amazing. Know what I like what you said? What you talked about, how the mini ball would take the piece of clothing in, and that's what the main infection's for. So they would have to go in there and find that not only the mini ball but the cloth, because that's what it would put sepsis, or I don't know, but it would make a disease and that would kill most of the people. So at least if it went through you and it didn't take the cloth in you, you have a better shot of living.
Right. It was slower moving. It was softer lead. And think about this. Your uniform was worn for months. You didn't clean them. And all this filth and everything on your uniform is now on that mini ball, and it's going deep into your body. You're done. You're done.
And how long would you have? All right, let's say if you first got hit by it, how long do they got to get that rag, the little piece of cloth out of you until...
It depends on how long the battle is. A lot of these soldiers had to lay there until the battle was over.
Well, I'm not saying the battle. Let's say if they got the guy immediately and somebody was hit, how long does he got, or how can he lay there until they do? When would it become like poisonous and kill him and go through his bloodstream? An hour?
It actually depends on where you hit. Now remember, if it doesn't hit a limb, you're not being cured. You're gonna die.
Dead.
You're going to die. If you get a gut shot or a chest shot, you're more than likely going to die from the injury. But usually you have a lot of time prior to getting a massive infection. You do have time. And don't forget, they can do an amputation on your limb. You do have quite a bit of time. Battles don't usually last that long. You do have days and days before it really becomes fatal.
Wow.
Many days.
Well, let's watch the rest of this, and if you want me to stop it, just say it. It's almost over.
Confederates tally their wounded and dead at 5,300. In spite of their casualties, the rebel troops are exultant. They've dealt the Union Army another grave blow.
They thought they were invincible. They were unbeatable.
They stopped 100,000 men. They must be
one more victory,
pretty proud.
The Southern Confederacy would be
and they got the hero Pelham.
Ironically, in victory, Lee misses a chance to deal the Army of the Potomac a mortal blow.
Yes, Lee makes a huge mistake right here.
Lee could have damaged the army much more than he did had he simply shelled the town of Fredericksburg. It was a very small place, packed from end to end with troops, and if Lee had unleashed his artillery on the town on December the 14th, there would have been thousands of more casualties.
Yes, he could have done more damage, but the town was already destroyed, though, don't you think, Mark? The town was already destroyed. Do you agree with that or not? Because I think he should have shelled the town. It was already destroyed, already need to be fixed up, and you would really almost not destroy the Army of the Potomac, but a lot more casualties, and you're going to win.
He should have leveled it. Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, that's what I think so. Oh, let's go on.
Following the Battle of Fredericksburg, President Lincoln downplays the defeat by saying the number of casualties is comparatively low. General Burnside, living up to his own feelings of incompetence, is relieved of his command of
You're
the
right.
Army of the
He didn't
Potomac.
even want it.
Right.
His replacement is General Joseph Hooker.
Yep, the guy who he should have put in there in the first place, because this guy said no. Burnside said no. He should have. At least Hooker liked the fight, you know.
Right.
At least Hooker would fight.
There was no delaying with Hooker.
Exactly. Unlike Burnside's like a friggin' Toitus over here. Hooker, they called him Fighting Joe Hooker also, you know, so he liked to fight.
Now, you would think Burnside would have learned a lesson from this
But he doesn't.
Gettysburg. Look what happened in Gettysburg with Burnside Bridge.
Yes, exactly. He didn't learn his lesson. He was an incompetent man. He was an incompetent. He could have been good as a lower officer, maybe, but he shouldn't have had these commands that he had.
100%.
Burnside's rivals since their days together at West Point.
See, these guys always hated each other since West Point.
The soldiers and generals at Fredericksburg cannot know that the future of warfare has been revealed among the fighting of the past days.
Yeah, it starts changing.
Amphibious assaults and grim urban fighting will become deadly fixtures of war in the next century.
Yeah, reminds me
And
of
the cost of pitting
Stalingrad.
outdated tactics against modern weaponry.
Yeah, you gotta admit it's over. You gotta admit the outdated Napoleon tactics of everybody standing up and firing at each other with all these men. Just like you go in there, you know you got a what percent chance do you got of living? Like, at least at the end of the Civil War, it went to trench warfare, like kind of like World War I. So,
But then you had to deal with Grant, who didn't care how many men he lost, just as long as the job got done.
Exactly, Grant. You're right. Grant would he would just throw men in there. He didn't give a shit. See, the Confederacy couldn't do that, as you know. The Confederacy was limited with men, but the Yankees had an abundant amounts of immigrants coming off the boat, Irish immigrants, German, all kinds of people, and they had an unlimited amount of soldiers.
And an unlimited amount of supplies.
Yep.
And a big industrial
mills, all the industrial mills up in New England, pumping all this stuff out. The Confederates.
What did General Lee say? I think it was during Cold Harbor, the Battle of Cold Harbor. He stated about Grant, and Lee had won the battle. He stated, "This is not war. This is murder." On how many people Grant just kept slaughtering just to try to win a battle.
Yeah, at Cold Harbor, he just kept throwing men in there. And they, if you remember, Grant was an alcoholic at one point in the beginning of the war. And William Tecumseh Sherman was insane. And Sherman said, Grant backed me when I was insane. No, I backed Grant when he was a drunk, and he backed me when I went insane.
Right.
But Grant was he did get the job done, and he was a fighter. But
he was a fighter, but he was not very tactful in doing it. And what did Tecumseh Sherman, wasn't he like the scorched earth policy?
Yes, William Tecumseh Sherman did the raid to the sea. He marched through Savannah, all through Georgia, up through South Carolina. He really wanted to bring the war to South Carolina because that was the first state to succeed. Fort Sumter.
And he wanted to demoralize the people of the South by raiding their houses, burning down their houses, tying the railroads into ties.
Well, those are called Sherman's. Those are called Sherman's neckties. Right, well, there is a debate right now upon historians about Sherman. Now, Sherman really respected, believe it or not, the Southern people and liked them. Now, Sherman, they called him Uncle Billy. They loved him, but could he control all of his troops?
No, absolutely not.
And I don't think there was as many rapes as they try to say. Like history try to say, like Sherman let everybody rape people. No. Was there thievery with a lot of the soldiers sneaking off at night and stealing from people? Yes, that did happen. You know, and I don't think Grant could have controlled
them. He actually wanted to demoralize them. That was his whole goal.
Yes, he did. That's why he burnt down their cities and took all their crops. But I don't think he really wanted people to get raped and tortured. But I'm sure he didn't mind. He knew that. I'm sure he didn't mind some of the pillaging and taking of horses and
my men will be
livestock.
Men. That was his thing. My men will be men.
Yeah, they had like I said, the South would have won, I believe, if they could have won the Battle of Gettysburg, or not averted the Battle of Gettysburg, like Longstreet's asking Robert E. Lee, let's shoot down Baltimore Pike, let's just make a tactical retreat and march to Washington. Maybe they could have sued for peace. Who knows what could have happened?
Do you really think they could have made it all the way to Washington? I would think that the Union Army would just follow them until they actually had
Well, there would have been there would have been a big battle outside of Washington somewhere, because they would have followed them. And
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, yeah, you're right. They would have followed them and tailed them the whole time, and then Lee and them would have had to fight outside of Washington, and maybe, Robert E. Lee could have picked the high ground. He would have the high ground of his choosing because he is in front of the Union Army. So that's a huge thing on your side. So he could have picked some high ground around Washington and Virginia, and maybe they could have had one last battle, and he could have won, or who knows? Anything could happen in history.
But there's one thing we're forgetting here: Lee's supply line. It's not going to go. It's not going to hit him. He's done.
Well, that's why if Lee doesn't win all out in the battle outside of Washington, let's say he goes around Gettysburg and they have some battle, so he's going to win that battle. If not, his army's done.
Exactly. 100%.
So it'd be a huge gamble, though. But you never know. It could pay off, but who knows? There's so many who knows and what ifs in history. Like, people don't realize like how little things in history ripple. And it's amazing
how one little thing can change the whole battle.
Right? Yep, totally. So many battles in the Civil War that happened. And Robert E. Lee, before you remember what's his name, John Brown, when he tried to take Harper's Ferry.
Yeah, with Harper's Ferry, right?
Yes, Robert E. Lee was the lieutenant colonel that went and captured him and killed all his men over there. And he was pretty tactical with that, Lee. He got that done. But I wouldn't say I'm a huge I like Robert E. Lee. I respect him as a general. But I really believe he should not have surrendered at Appomattox. He should have disbanded his army, told them to take their uniforms off and go to the mountains of Virginia, West Virginia, and Virginia, and hold a rebel campaign. Guerrilla warfare. And I think if they did that, they could have won their freedom. Even though I'm glad it didn't happen. Don't get me wrong. But I've heard other historians say if Lee would have disbanded his army and got into the mountains of Virginia, that he could have held out for 20 years, he said.
Yeah, I don't think Lee wanted that. I think he wanted a quick victory. I didn't think he wanted to hold out that much longer. I think he knew the inevitable was going to happen if he didn't really win.
Yes.
That's what I kind of believe.
Well, you got to think, like we said before, the North outnumbered them. They had supplies, manufacturing, the Anaconda plan, which
with the Mississippi.
Cut off all the Confederate trade. So they had to have blockade runners get to France, get to Spain, England, to buy arms and all that stuff. So
once
they had them
fell, it was over. Really?
Yes. Then you get the Mississippi. Once Vicksburg falls, you cut the Confederacy in half. You control the Mississippi River. It's all over. Over.
MRA, it was great talking to you.
Yes, we're gonna shut this down. Thanks, man.
And if you ever want to talk about individual battles, just give me a shout out, man, and I'll do it.
Yeah, well, like I said, you did a good job when I played the video, because some people, if you don't stream with them, you got to know how to roll with the video. But if you want it stopped at some point, just say stop it and stuff. Right. We might do this again in the future. You should do a channel yourself. But thanks for coming on, and God bless.
My pleasure, and thank you everybody out there for giving well wishes, and thanking all the vets for Happy Veterans Day.
Yeah, Happy Veterans Day. If I don't give you a shout out,
my
see you
hats
tomorrow.
off to you guys too, man. Thank you all, man. You've been a pleasure.
All right, God bless you, man. Yeah, I want to thank Combat Medic for coming on, and yeah, thanks for all you guys watching. Had a great time doing this Vicksburg thing, but I don't want it to go too long. So God bless you all. Go slow. Thanks for watching.